I have to say, I have a good feeling this will be a good year for movies. But I didn't think I'd see possibly one of the best films of the year in January. So this year might be really surprising. Or it already peaked with the Fallout. Oh wait, this came out in 2021 technically, so I guess this is one of the best films of 2021 then. I guess this isn't relevant to the review, but I always hate when movies release in film festivals and a year later is when the general audience, or me at least, in this context, didn't get to see it, but it's considered a movie of the previous year even though I didn't get to go to the film festival. Obviously, distribution and everything's play into it. It's just a personal gripe I have, but again, this isn't relevant. As I was saying though, this movie premiered at South by Southwest in March 2021 and now released on HBO Max as an exclusive film in certain regions, which is, this one. And while this movie wasn't something I needed to see on the big screen, it is interesting how Warner Bros. Will probably have anything new probably be a Max original, while The Batman gets to be a theater exclusive. I don't know for sure if that's going to be the case, but from what I've seen of HBO Max's plans, that will probably be what happens. At least HBO Max original movies will probably be better than 90% of any Disney Plus movie. Stay tuned for my The Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild review. Sadly. Now, with all that said, what is this movie about? Well, directed and written by Megan Park, in her feature directorial debut comes a very important story for modern day. A story about almost losing everything, and if you could still lose when it looks like you won. The movie follows the life of Vida Carval, a happy and cheery 16-year-old played by Jenny Ortega, who seems to have a joyful, down-to-earth life of her family, especially her younger sister Amelia, played by Lumi Pollock, and her friend Nick Feinstein, played by Will Ropp. But suddenly, her normal morning is interrupted since while she's in the bathroom, a school shooting occurs, and Vida is able to hide out, avoiding even getting close to the shooters, and lives, while many classmates, some she knew, some not at all, die. Things change for everyone as she becomes more depressed and her views on life are forever changed. While other people she knows deal with it in different ways, we focus on how specifically someone who was so full of life lost it, and it's story not about getting her life back. It's more about figuring out how do you get your life back, even if you can. The best part about the movie is the characters. They are all well written and well acted. Every single performance, even the characters that are written weaker than theirs, it's still amazing. It was really well done, despite not even seeing the shooting. Just the anxiety from the sounds to the faces. It really makes it feel like there's an unseen doom lurking around. I like how different people cope with this. Not everyone is depressed. I mean, they are sad, of course, but they still either cope or try to find alternatives to not facing the realization that life is more fragile than these people might realize. The movie opens with Vida and Nick both driving to school, and while it shows their similarities and how casual or silly they can be, it helps contrast how they both deal with it, since Vida falls into depression, while Nick wants to make a difference and wants to make sure this doesn't happen again. During the bathroom scene, Vida meets a guy named Quentin, played by Niles Fish, who, without spoiling anything, had probably the most visually well-done scenes in the movie. Even Mia Reed, played by Maddie Ziegler, who she was stuck with in the bathroom, and shows the biggest impact on how she changes Vida, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, but keep in mind this is not a simple story of good and bad. There's no bad guy in this movie. No one teases someone feeling the way they do. Honestly, it feels like this is where it shines realistically and how people would probably react when a tragedy like this happens. There aren't sitcom bullies. People are people. Vida is really interesting since it's not immediately clear if she becomes better or not as the film goes on, and in some regards it kind of reminds me of Good Will Hunting, which is a completely different movie, but the themes of someone who faced hardship and finding the right people to figure out what to do with their lives. I know it's a weird comparison, it's just kind of what came into my mind. The film really shines thanks to Jenny Ortega's performance, who pretty much also shined in Scream 2022 last week, which was such a different character, which shows to me she's gonna have a strong career in the future, and not because of whatever Disney Channel show she was on. I think I saw on IMDb. I don't care to Google the title. The more I know, the sadder I become as a human being. Even Maddie Ziegler, whose name sounded familiar, I looked up as Music Gamble in the worst movie I saw last year, and better direction makes her a better actor. So, I guess Megan Park's a better director than Sia. I guess I'm the first person to ever say that sentence. Anyways, so yeah, I'll say this. For so much of this movie that it does right, it's not perfect. There are problems that range from personal issues to objective issues. One, I feel like the music could have been better, but maybe it's just because I'm not personally into this music. Like, my brother came in asking me if I was intentionally listening to the opening song, which was... Actually, I prefer not to say it. I don't want people to, say, oh my god, you don't like this music? And sure, I think generally speaking, it doesn't always fit, but that's more of a my problem than a real problem. Or, it's actually a real problem. I don't know. But there are problems, like the tone is a bit off since there are scenes I think I'm supposed to laugh at, but it comes off as awkward, and sure, for a drama like this, there should be scenes where someone should laugh. Comedy is a coping mechanism, so it should be there instead of being pushed. But there are times where, intentionally or not, it didn't work. And again, maybe it's just a me problem. I don't know. I think, honestly, for anything not done greatly in this movie, I feel like it could be better, but nothing outright bad. I don't want to put to shame a movie for not doing what I wanted it to be. Although, I'll say this, while the performances and story feels realistic enough, the dialogue is kind of weak and not memorable. And honestly, when they say stuff like, LOL or low-key, I'm just thinking, no one I know would talk like this. I mean, I'm 17. Wow, I'm actually looking at the camera right now. I know that's kind of a shocking thing to hear if you didn't know that already. Where did my youth go? But I'm willing to buy it because the best scenes in this movie easily outweigh the worst scenes in this movie. The little bad scenes are nothing compared to the grand good stuff in the movie. Honestly, when I saw the trailer, this was something I knew should have been made, and I'm glad it goes into the direction I hoped it would be made. And not trying to force a specific reason on why bad things happen, but realistic enough where it could happen. And I'll elaborate in a second, but in the movie, they say the shooter never had a reason, and I like we never find out why, It's not the focus. I'm just thinking now, didn't anyone investigate this guy afterwards? I don't know how memorable this movie is, but there are two scenes I thought were powerful. One with Veda and Amelia on how strong their relationship was in the movie, and how much it changes later on. But the ending makes me think how this movie isn't what you think. I really want to talk about the ending, though, so, spoilers from here on out. I feel like I'm being way too jokey for what I'm about to say. Well, it seems like Veda might finally be on the right path to getting better, only to find out there was another school shooting. And it reminds me how this does happen. One doesn't necessarily stop the other. It's gonna be scary to find out this is that simple, and it got me to think about this, especially as someone who is gonna finish high school this year. This will stick in my mind, and this shows me how powerful this movie is. Well, I have my personal problems with this movie. This is the kind of slice of life movie it should be. No real villains, or clear story. It's characters, people changing, and we're seeing how they improve or change, sometimes for the worse, but it's still a part of life. And honestly, I think I'll say this for any movie I'll love in the future. It's the kind of movie I want to make. And this movie has scenes visually shot and acted grand enough. What might not work is going to skip my mind, and I'm going to remember what made me say this movie is something you should see at least once. And if you can't handle it, that's fine. For some people, it might be a hard movie to sit through. For me, it wasn't. It's just a movie that's going to make me think a lot and remind me to make sure I make the most of my time. And I think I choose my time wisely by watching The Fallout on HBO Max. With all that said, I give The Fallout a 9 out of 10.